Hi everyone, welcome back. Laure here backstage, and I was joined with Schalke 04's mid laner Abbedagge. Thank you for joining me after your game. It's a new year, new league, new experience for you. What did you think about your first performance on the LEC stage?
I think I did pretty fine, but I can obviously do a lot better. And
he will do great this year. Like
I'm
after
looking
his
for
first year, after his first
Leave
year,
it alone.
he's already doing so good. So he's gonna be a banger this game.
Yeah.
Everyone, watch out for Abbedagge.
You can ignore him.
I'm looking forward to
Yeah?
our next games.
Well, I can hope that, I mean, you have experienced players to help you here. We saw this troll jump in the interview here. Are they helping you around since you arrived?
Yeah, it's really nice to work with all my teammates, and I've already learned a lot how to act in-game and out of the game. So it's pretty nice.
And we'll be looking forward to see you shine more on stage. Now, we know that Europe is a mid-lane powerhouse. Is there any player that you would like to face in particular? And why?
I'm just looking forward to face Caps mostly, and I don't really care too much about the others, but like everyone's praising Caps, so I want to face him.
Well, I wish you good luck on this, and we'll be looking forward to this. Now,
Thank
for
you.
more on the next game, let's send it over to Sjokz in the studio.
Thank you very much, Laure. I love it. Abbedagge Odoamne just comes to like disturb his interview, and he's like, whatever, man, I'm just gonna do my thing. He's just like ignoring him, putting Odoamne in his place.
Yep, he can't allow that troll to dictate his interviews.
Not on the first day.
No, Abbedagge, he had a tough day. Yeah. A lot of focus was thrown towards him, but I feel like he had a very solid performance, and I look forward to his growth throughout the split.
And overall, Schalke, fantastic job beating out Vitality, and we also have to crown our Kia player of the game. Upset with 68% of the votes. I mean, it's perfect. This is the franchise player that everything is built around, and he's showing up on day one.
Oh yeah, very impressive Ezreal performance, one of his big comfort picks. We didn't see much from him in the early game, but every time Vitality made a move, he was the one to punish. And I love the fact that in team fights, he was consistent, he was a high damage dealer, and I have high expectations of him on this team.
Yeah, great start for Upset. In our next game, though, we're going to get a look at one of the newest additions to the league as Rogue prepares for their first LEC match against Misfits Gaming. Vedius Rogue is brand new.
Yep.
They do have a name in many other esports, but it's the first time that we see them in League in the LEC.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have them here. They just kind of bring a fresh new look to some of the LEC orgs, given that they have some very interesting backing with Steve Aoki and Imagine Dragons as well, and they're really invested in building a community here in Europe. They've invested in the Polish league, and they've picked themselves up Polish players with like Kikis and Vanda, and I'm excited to see how they continue to nurture and grow this small community that they're starting to build for themselves.
I agree. I think it's awesome that they have Imagine Dragons and Aoki backing them. That is so freaking cool. And this is the lineup that they are stepping onto the stage with. As you say, some veterans and an interesting mix of people we've seen in the then EULCS a couple of times. But what do you make of this roster when you see it as a 5-man unit? How will they do in the first couple of weeks of the LEC?
Well, I feel like expectations are quite low for this team because it's kind of made up a lot of players that didn't find a lot of success in the past. You look at players like Sencux and HeaQ and even Profit on Roccat last year, they weren't able to find a lot of success. But some of the shining members are players like Kikis, who took the 5-5 Vitality to second place at the end of the regular season, and the semi-finalists at Worlds Wadid. These two players are kind of the stars for me on this roster and can create a lot of upsets and surprises very early on in the split.
Yeah, totally agree. Of course, Freddy is there as well. A couple of elements for the ex-Roccat roster joining in with Rogue. Definitely a team we have to look out for. But they have a tall order today. They are up on the stage versus Misfits. Now, Misfits is one of the teams with the most hype behind them, I think, coming into this LEC season. Winning the off-season, I think we can say they definitely did that, you know, not only in front of the scenes with this roster, but behind the scenes. They took a serious look at their organization coming into LEC and changed just about everything and came up with this.
Yeah, and this roster, it just looks so stacked. It has the first EU Faker Slayer in Febiven returning back to Europe. You also have one of the best players of all time coming over from the LCK in Gorilla, and the veteran sOAZ joining from Fnatic as well, around the foundation of Hansam and Maxlore, who two of the big carries for Misfits last year. So on paper, you see that there is so much potential, providing experience, mechanical prowess, and synergy that can excel this team to the top.
Yeah, definitely so. And as discussed in Euphoria already, it's always the danger with a roster like this that is so hyped, where everything should come together on paper. But how will they do straight off the bat? Well, we have to say, they cannot lose this game versus Rogue. If you're Misfits, this is not something that can happen with that caliber of player.
Exactly that. And it's one of those things where I'm tempering my expectations of this team because I understand where the hype is coming from. And I'd love to believe in it. But being an analyst, you always have that skepticism around super teams. How well would they gel? And for me, it's one of those things where you have so many strong personalities and a lot of experience on this roster that I don't know how well it will all fit together very early on in the split.
No, we will see that indeed as Misfits Gaming is on stage. Justice, of course, is in the head coach position now, and he is on stage coaching these guys. So we'll see what comes of that. They are just getting ready. But when we look at Rogue, this is a tall order, but things have gone crazier today.
Yes,
SK Gaming, they beat Fnatic earlier in the day. What do you think the chances are for Rogue? What can they possibly target? Is it maybe that Misfits bottom lane?
So I think that Misfits are going to suffer from similar issues to what we saw with Fnatic, where the team just won't be on the same page. And what I'm hoping for is that Kikis seems to be this kind of player that just takes control, and he can kind of create, not fake synergy, but act as a leader while the team is building synergy, that can act in a very early aggressive manner, can look to build early lane advantages, and I want to see him playing around the bot lane, maybe around Prophet in the top lane as well, to try and net advantages there. And I think that if Sencux can just keep the lane neutral against Febiven, there is a possibility. I think that this is the best time to take advantage of this Misfits squad.
Yeah, it very well. Maybe we're just a minute away from Champion Select. I'm excited to see this guy back on the EU stage. It was such a shock for everyone when he did leave to NA because he did so well in that legendary 2015 Fnatic lineup, one of the best in recent memory. And now he's back. And there's some question marks, you know. How good is Febiven really? You said it, one of the original FLICKR slayers. But what are your expectations for this guy?
So last year, he did not have a good performance in North America. And honestly, I have very low expectations of Febiven coming back into the split. I think that the EU talent has leveled up dramatically in the year that Febiven was not around. And he's going to have to prove a lot to me that he can still compete with the likes of Nukeduck, Jizuke, and Caps in the middle lane.
But that's not who he's up against now.
That's not who he's up against now. It is Sencux, and I think this is a great way to start off the split.
Yeah.
And I think that depending on what kind of Febiven we see will determine a lot. Will it be the Azir player, the scaling player, the guy that kind of waited for the late game that we saw a lot in North America, or will we see the original FLICKR player, the guy that would look for those outplays? Will he go for things like the Akali, the stuff that will get in your face and try to show that he still is one of the top performers in Europe?
If you look at the entire roster, who is your pick to watch? Oh, that wasn't on purpose. Who's the guy you're looking at to make the big moves then? Not that sure about Febiven. We don't know. Gorilla, yes, he's legendary. He was very good. How is he going to be in EU? Is there someone that you think Misfits will be able to rely on no matter what in those first phases of LEC?
So I believe it'll actually be Hansa.
Yeah.
I think that last year, at the beginning of each split, we saw that the team invested heavily into the bot side of the map to snowball the dual lane of Hansama and Mickey, and they were able to transition that lead into dominant performances. And I think that with the introduction of Gorilla, while he wasn't known for being this hyper-aggressive playmaker in the bot lane, I think that if you're just looking to play around a carry, Hansama's one that's tried and true. And with Maxlore already having good synergy with him, I think that you can just leave the two solo laners to their own devices, and Maxlore and Hansama at the beginning of the split can rely on the already effective synergy to find advantages and then snowball games.
Well, we'll see how it works out. Of course, Misfits are very, very big favorites in this game versus Rogue. And with their superstars, Misfits look to reach new heights in 2019, starting tonight versus that Rogue team. Let's head down to our casters.
Thank you, Sjokz. Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Drakos, joined by Indiana Froskurinn Black for her first cast in the LEC. It's been a long time coming, Frosco. Finally in the Superior region. How's it feel?
You know, once Wadid took down Uzi at Worlds,
Yeah.
I was like, I
we
have
saw
to do
that.
it. I have to come to Europe. I can no longer stay in the LPL because Wadid, he is the true superior bot laner.
But he's going up against Gorilla, though. How do you feel? I mean, are you confident? Do you feel like the man who killed
against
your baby, basically, like took Uzi away from you, denied him his chance at Worlds, is going to go toe-to-toe with Gorilla?
I mean, no offense to Gorilla, but he wasn't at the World Championship.
That's true. Ooh.
You're gonna make time on
little
this
harsh.
pitch.
All right, it's week one. We don't need to like tear him down yet, but we are going to see a lot of what these two teams have to offer today. A lot of questions about the Misfits super team. Now, I'm personally of the opinion that Febiven's going to come back and smash this, but a lot of smarter people than me are, you know, reining in with a little bit of skepticism, holding me back from going all aboard the Febiven hype train.
You know, I've been checking in on Febiven in solo queue, just trying to guess what kind of Febi that we're going to get. Is this going to be, you know, his summer split in the NALCS where he struggled a little bit versus a stronger spring, or is this going to be the EU Febi that people really want to see on this Misfits roster? And what I did like is that I'm seeing very meta, high skill cap champions. So you're seeing things like the Aatroxes, the Aurelias. You know, he's not really going towards the Lissandras and the Gallios. Of course he can play them, and of course he's picking them up, but he is looking for those, you know, go all-in assassin-style champions, and I think they need kind of that X factor if Misfits really want to be this super team that everyone believes that they're going to be.
And if you're a fan of Febiven at all, and you hear Assassins, you remember some of the highlights across his career with some of those picks, and that's exactly what you want to see when he steps onto
Bread and
stage.
butter.
And if you're a Misfits fan, you look back at the most successful year Misfits had, that was the year Power of Evil was popping off in the mid lane, and he was playing those Assassin picks. So maybe Febi can fill that gap. Maybe this can be the strongest form of Misfits we've seen yet. But he's going up against Sencux, former Misfits mid laner, and Sencux has had really high highs last year. Now, admittedly, not his best year. A lot of struggles. But we saw that period when Misfits were on a winning streak, that this guy can be unstoppable. And maybe today is the day he can bring out some of that X factor.
It almost feels a bit like a softball towards Febi, that he gets to dip his toe in. You know, he's not against caps immediately out of the gate, but we don't know what form of Sencux you're going to get. It's always going to be that consistency factor. You know, for me, I've known Sencux for a really long time. I used to coach him, and I was thinking, like, this guy's going to be the next Danish superstar. He is going to go somewhere. And he hit some of those highs. He went to Worlds with Splice, and then just kind of faded back. And it seems almost like a bit of a mental block for Sencux. So I want the LEC and Rogue to be a fresh start for him. I want him to remind himself everything that he's capable of, because he can have those moments and return to form and lead this team. Because right now he's got a hyped up mid laner named Larson right on his heels, and he's going to be competing with him for that spot in summer. So it's kind of now or never for Sencux.
Want to see him step up. This is a player that has had, as you said, those high moments, those really great performances, but has never quite reached that peak that was expected of him. His opponent, though, Febiven, is having a few mouse issues. We are sorting those out before we get into Champs
Can't
Select.
play Assassins if your mouse isn't working.
That's true. Those are button-clicky champions.
If he
Could
walks
just
in
pick
Galio.
Lissandra and solve the issue by just point and clicking. That's all I'm saying. But I appreciate that he wants to leave his options open, I guess. So that's what he wants to do. So, waiting on Misfits before we get into the game, making sure everything's good on their end. Rogue player's looking calm, looking comfortable. Kikis with a smile on his face. He knows. He has seen the Zins today. He has seen the aggressive junglers. Even Sejuani, a tank jungler, is so strong right now. So he knows this is a meta for Kikis to succeed. And if you're on Rogue, or if you're a Rogue fan, that's what you like to hear. Kikis, an absolute star player.
I mean, it's really unfortunate for Rogue because going into this matchup, everyone is going to say it's very heavily favored towards Misfits. But there are a lot of key players that you can home in on for Rogue and get behind. And Kikis is one of those guys. You know, had a great start on Vitality, led them to Worlds, was the start of their turnaround. And this is a meta that's built for him. You just said there's all this fighting happening. We basically just watched a bunch of ARAMs for 4 hours. So I'm ready for Kikis to get this blood on.
I love ARAM. Let's not.
This would have been Unicorns of Love meta.
This that's so sad. That's true. This is their time. Ah, rip. A little too early.
It's
oh
okay.
Well.
Sheepy's on SK now.
Yeah, Sheepy's on, and they're doing great. Taking down Fnatic. 2-0 to start the split, kind of. And here, now we get to see what Rogue can do. And this has been a day of interesting matchups and kind of upsets. A lot of people going down that we didn't expect to. Sjokz coming out the gates, swinging upset, and looking as fantastic as ever. And Vitality really struggling there in some instances.
That is something key, though. I thought that it was going to be all about the mid-jungle priority and carry. That's what we've seen globally in the LCK and the LPL. But you're starting to see these ADCs pop off, particularly in the hands of the Ezreal. We have a lot of strong Ezreal players in the LEC. With the changes to Ezreal in the preseason, his W as well as his ultimate, which I just think puts him to god tier status, to quote Papa Smithy. I'm actually really looking forward to some ADC hard carry. I come from the region where it's all about the ADCs. I right now get to see HeaQ and Hansama prove to me what they got. They're the next Uzi or Jackie
And a chance for HeaQ to step up as well, a guy that kind of went under the radar in his time on Roccat, now paired with Wadid, a guy coming back from a fantastic Worlds performance. You have to see what he can do, what he can put down here as we get closer to Champion Select. Froskurinn, I want to see aggressive picks. I want to see Kikis on something or Kindred. Aggro or Kindred, which can go either way.
I mean, Kindred can be aggro.
Kindred can definitely be aggro.
Blades?
I want weird picks or aggressive picks, and I will accept either We'll see if they want to draft how I want them to draft or what their strategy is going to be. It is Rogue versus Misfits. Rogue on the blue side, Misfits on the red. 2 bans already come out from Rogue, taking away the Lucian, taking away the Aurelia, and some standard bans on the opposite side for Misfits in both the Casio and the Aatrox.
Yeah, everything seems to fit right now for what we've seen on patch 9.1. A lot of flex champions being pinched away, a lot of those must-ban champions in the Cassiopeia and the Lucian, save for the Fnatic game where it was a priority pick. But nothing stepping out too much, and it's always going to be a question of what the priority pick on blue side's going to be. Urgot's the one that steps up or stands out to me right now if it's not taken away in this last ban.
Yeah, 13 seconds and counting to ban that pick away if they don't want to leave it up and available. Pick like Rakan was very successful in the first game of the day, was banned away after the remake.
It almost feels like, you know, Urgot, Aatrox, 1 flex pick, and then second pick is like Rakan plus jungler.
Was that a missed ban? And the question now is, was that deliberate from the side of Misfits Gaming?
You see him lean forward? Looking at, are you guys okay down there?
Wants to make sure, and I like this. I'm going to assume this is intentional moving forward, and I like this strategy overall then, leaving so many picks available. Because look, if you take Urgot, which you do if you're Rogue, now on the opposite is Misfit just go, you know, we saw what that Xin Rakan did in the hands of SK. Maybe we just grab ourselves those proactive kind of picks.
I still think it's fairly safe though that the Urgot's left open. Again, in the LPL, you're seeing almost exclusively up in the top lane. In the LCK, you see Urgot in the mid lane, so it doesn't really give away a lot. Still a very high priority champion. The Akali this high up in priority would be interesting.
Also want to see whose hands it's going to go into.
That makes more sense.
Rakan now locked in. We talked to Vedius a little bit about the preseason. He's talking to pro players. He said that none of them are talking about Rakan. He came in today and he said, they were all trolling me. Rakan is insane. They will pick it every single game. Good looking out, Vedi. Rakan coming in. Now what are they going to opt for here? Do they take the Akali for Febiven? That would be exciting.
I really like Rakan right now in the current meta, especially in the lane phase, and that sounds strange because Rakan really hasn't given a lot to laners unless you're going for the all-in kill pressure, but I feel like the changes to teleport, that your top laner can no longer just use the TP as a zoning factor. He must continue on that clown car ride if he chooses to press the button, and Rakan means that it can always be worth his time most of the time. He can force the engage. He can say, okay, you decided to TP down to this lane and we will force the engage and I will reward you for your time.
And so much has happened now to try to mitigate that. We see the Tahm Kench locked in, trying to shut down some of those engage options from the Rakan, but additionally, the Akali coming out. Now, could potentially see it flex, but most likely going into the hands of Sencux here, and we might see Alpha Sencux. We might see Misfits first half of Summer Split Sencux right here if he's feeling that confident on the Akali pick.
I don't think we're going to see Alpha Sencux if he's facing Sion and Lissandra. Not that he can't pop off on Akali, but the fact of the matter is it doesn't matter what matchup he gets there, he's probably not going to have any sort of kill pressure just because of the innate tankiness of Sion as well as the frozen tomb of Lissandra.
So Froskurinn, when we look at this draft, I see a ton of engage on the side of Misfits Gaming. So many point clicks, so many good ways to start a fight. Opposite side, what are Rogue going to do to mitigate this?
They're not going to fight them unless they find early leads on the Akali and they get ahead of that they can start pressuring backline. But right now you have an Akali, you have an Urgot, and you have a Tahm Kench. They have all of the tools with the first 3 picks that they can divide and conquer this map. They don't have to fight this wombo combo death ball that Misfits are starting to put together with all of that engage. Now that said, I think meta favors death ball comps, but we'll see what Rogue have planned.
What's the option going to be? Taking the Xayah away from Hansama, Ezreal being banned away from HeaQ, one of his comfort picks, obviously had a fantastic game. Last split on that champion. See what else they want. HeaQ historically in favor of more of the utility champions. Was very good on Ziggs when it was the push pressure, was good on Ashe as well, but hasn't always shown us, you know, a higher level of play, but that could change today. It's the Caitlyn will be the final ban from Misfits.
It may actually mean that we get a Sivir that's being pulled out. Again, globally, Sivir's found a lot of priority. She fits with the fact that it's a hard engage meta, or a lot of hard engage champions. Speed them up. The changes to her Q means that she's stronger in team fights because it does consistent damage as it passes through champions. Always has the push priority with her W. I think it's going to be a Sivir game.
It's looking like it probably will be as we check down across, you know, tier lists of what 80 carries are powerful right now. Sivir, definitely one that's been rising in popularity, and with 5 rather already banned away.
The scary thing though is that if you do go down the Sivir rabbit hole, Vayne exists, which is why I like that Hansama immediately turns left. He's like, nah, specialty time, it's Draven.
And if there's one thing that we know about Hansama, it's that when Hansama picks Draven, he is looking to make a statement. You remember, when everyone wanted to play mages in the bot lane, he said, get me that Draven, give Mickey X that Morgana, he will black shield me and he will do nothing else. I am here to kill people. And HeaQ has to be feeling nervous. He banned away the Kalista, he banned away the Xayah, some of these guys who can be aggressive in the early game, but he is going to get his hands on the Varus, and that's still a pretty solid pick.
But a lot of kill pressure, the Rakan, the Draven, Hansama saying, Gorilla, I know you and Prey, you were a low econ bot lane, it was really about hanging back, but we're going to play to win lane. And on the other side, we're like, we're going to play as far away from you guys as possible. We're going to push the wave, and it's going to be PvE.
I love it. Varus, Tahm, Kench, the ultimate. Yeah, we're not gonna do what you want to do in this lane phase. We're gonna back up.
What's League of Legends?
Take it slow. We're here for the PvE experience on the Rocket. But they do have the Xin. An aggressive jungler demands an aggressive jungler to match. At least that's what might be going through the head of Maxlore. Maxlore Lee Sin, a pick that, you know, I missed in these meta of tank junglers, but now we get to see it here. And with all of this CC across each and every one of his lanes, the setup for him on these ganks is so easy.
I mean, there's kill pressure everywhere, and it feels like for Rogue, we kind of have the divide and conquer composition. For Kikis, he's looking at Sencux, and he's looking at Profit for the early game. He needs to get it going unless Hansama and Gorilla just leave themselves completely exposed in the bot lane by pressing forward or possibly trying to gank when Varus is pushed forward. On the other side, though, it's all about the hard engage. So looking for team fights and very early skirmishing from Misfits, and you're looking for kind of a 1-3-1 or a 1-4, pending if Rogue can get some of these carries like the Akali off the ground.
And we've seen so many aggressive early games across, especially SK, Selfmade stepping up. We've got Kikis and Maxlore, two very top-tier junglers here in the LEC going head-to-head. You have to expect some early action. Literally everything is pointing to it, outside of course, the Varus, Tahm, Kench. Everything else, though, very much pointing to an active early game. We want to see what these guys are going to go for. We're going to see some creative level ones here, where both these teams are going to play it safe for their first game on stage.
And let's see if we're going to have any more peripheral issues, or if the mouse has been worked out. It was the Lissandra, so he did take your advice, I think.
Have you heard of the caster curse? Are you so confident as to invoke the caster curse in your first LEC cast? Is that what you're looking for?
Feels like home, frankly, on day number 1 for me. Just fitting right in.
I'm just going to take that one and keep going. We'll leave it at that. Misfits Gaming going toe-to-toe, so as Maxlore, Febiven, Hansama, and Gorilla. Many people calling them a super team. Will we see a super performance here in Game 1 as they go toe-to-toe with Rogue? Lineup full of players with very high ceilings. We haven't seen as much of them recently, but today could be the day that they show up, that they make a mark on this league in their first matchup.
I've already seen Titans fall, so I'm not ready to count out Rogue just yet.
And you can't. New team, new lineup. We've seen what new lineups can do. Rogue coming in, taking a lot of that infrastructure, ready to go. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. There is a pause. Froskurinn invoked the caster curse. I don't know what to tell you. It's very powerful. We're a very superstitious lot here. She didn't take the rabbit foot like I told her to take the rabbit foot. She did not throw the salt.
It just didn't seem really appropriate with Misfits being on stage, yo.
That would be caster bias. You're right. All right, so we will keep you guys updated as we get more information. In the meantime, luckily we have a beautiful draft in front of us that we can talk about. A lot of things that I'm interested in. Of course, it's been so long for us since the world's meta. So much has developed even in these first few games today. And really, I want to know, when you look at the meta right now, Froskurinn, we talked so much about jungle mid. We've heard Vedius talk about it earlier today. But you also talk about this kind of other focus that we're starting to see emerge in EU. How are you feeling about the game so far today? What do you think has kind of been emerging stylistically?
It's so funny because every time we open up these conversations, you always say, now don't go too deep. Don't be too micro, too analytical about this. And now you're like, now talk to me about the minion changes. That's basically what you set me up for.
I did. I said none of that, but yeah, I said definitely, sure, minion changes. If that's what's compelling, if that's what speaks to you, Frosco, let it free. As an update, keyboard issue. We fixed the mouse, we forgot the
so
keyboard.
You're saying it wasn't my fault.
50-50, you know?
Okay, for me, what's interesting about the meta, or what I'm really seeing, wanting to see how it plays out, are the minion changes, and if it actually did impact specifically side lanes. Now, I've talked to a bunch of different coaches. No one seems to have a consensus. Some people are like, the minions are exactly the same. It picks up a slow push. If you leave your waves off to the side, it'll just turn into this giant minion wave, then it crashes. Maybe it crashes a little bit faster. Other coaches are saying, nah, it's different this time. Now it takes much longer for those pushes and those slow pushes to exist, which means that's less time spent in side lanes, so you can actually spend more time A-ramming in the mid lane or looking for these death ball 5v5s, which it does feel like we're seeing a lot of grouping and 5v5s today.
All right, so let's bring that back to the game at hand, Froskurinn, because Misfits, I see the pieces of a Deathball 5v5. I see that Lee Sin Insec. I see that Sion. I see that Lissandra. I see the Draven there and the Rakan, you know? And on the opposite side, you talked about this potential 1-3-1 coming out from Rogue. Do you feel like that their strategy is better with the new minion changes, or is it worse trying to play the 1-3-1?
I mean, theoretically, if you get super far ahead in a lane, like, let's say we had a Fiora in the LCK. If that Fiora just starts taking off and no one can deal with her, with the changes to the minion waves where you get a cannon every single wave past 25 minutes in the game, if Fiora, no one can touch her, then she can just sit there and push down towers so much faster. So I think it does open up flexibility to look for 1-4 styles of play. But it takes so long to get there, and it feels like the games are almost being decided by kind of the 13 to 15 minute mark because we are springboarding so fast. So I guess it's kind of a give or take, or what's really going to be the break point, but so far everything seems up in the air, at least in the LEC.
Very much so. Very different games across the day. Now, of course, getting back into game. Peripheral issue solved. League of Legends finally on your screen. Rogue, once again, on the blue side, coming out with the 1-3-1. Misfits on the opposite side with the Death Ball. We know this one. This one's a classic. This one's an EU special. See what they can do with it this time around. Hansama, interesting enough, taking the cleanse. Giving a lot of respect to some of the engaged potential here on the opposite side. Not interested in going down in the early game. Keep those adoration stacks. It's like Draven rule number 1.
Now, what's important here is about how the junglers are going to path, because there is so much kill pressure across virtually every single lane, except for maybe the Varus Tahm Kench lane. Now, of course, that can go where they just continuously push forward, and that opens up the jungler to challenge the other jungle, but it still goes back to Kikis and to Maxlore. And I want to see blood, I want to see action, I want to see dueling. This is a Lee Sin Xin Zhao. If we have another 17-minute snooze fest, I'm going to be pretty pissed off with the LEC.
Look, they're set up to fight, Froskurinn. You can't ask for more. The draft has given us everything we want, and if there's anything that I know about Kikis and Maxlore, it's that they will try to fight. Will it be the right decision? That I can't say, but they will do it. They will look for that opportunity.
I like the fact that Maxlore is actually starting on the bottom side of his map and also allowing Hansama and Gorilla to stand in the lane. And what this could do is be very confusing because it's a ghost leash. So you have sOAZ saying like, aha, Lee Sin is on the top side of the map. What you going to do? And we'll see how this messes up the pathing for Kikis and opens up possible opportunity for Maxlore to exploit.
And for now, so much health being sacrificed by sOAZ. He's trying to extend this trade to get something back. He knows the cooldowns are gone for Urgot, but that fake leash, that hiding that bit of information does cost sOAZ a lot of health, but it does mean Maxlore undetected for now.
It can also help out immensely for Hansama and Gorilla. You would expect that the push priority would go to HeaQ and Wadid. It's very hard for Varus, especially when he gets, at least 3 points in his abilities, can use this hail of arrows. And just by being there early means that they can try to persuade some of that push priority for trade priority.
You can hear on stage now calls from this member ready. Look for an engage potentially.
I think he was spotted
Hansama level 2. Kikis has been spotted out. The red buff is there. They thought the Lee Sin started topside. They fell right into the trap, and now Gorilla's going in. He's looking for the first kill. Kikis burning down. Slowly but surely. Hasn't gotten it yet. First blood. Cashing in, and that's what you want to see if you're a Misfits fan.
And this is the super team off to a super start right there. The fact is that they hid where Lee Sin started. They weren't expecting the jungler to also be there. So what they thought was a 3v2 on Rogue side was a 3v3. Maxlore and Gorilla saved the day.
Kikis thought he was punishing that opportunity there, but no, falling right into the trap of Misfits, and a beautiful, beautiful start for them. 800 gold immediately in the back pocket of this team, and Draven first back, potentially looking at BF sword. That's a pretty terrifying sight.
Oh, hold on.
Sencux goes right back in the shroud, sees Maxlore coming. Maxlore trying to relieve a bit of pressure here in the mid lane as Febiven starts to go
I think Akali's an anti-fun champion. She just is protected so much. Jumps in the shroud, never punished, especially on a short lane.
Have you played her? She's very fun to play.
I once got tabbed out with Akali and got a kill anyway. Take another look at this. I thought he might have spotted the ward, but unfortunately didn't get up high enough with the sweeper. He was spotted out, the immediate call for the collapse. I was curious what type of communication or growing pains Misfits might find, but they looked exactly on the same page there, not a second of hesitation.
Yeah, and we look at it now, and this is definitely not the ideal start coming in for Rogue. Kikis is such a huge part of any team's early game success. We saw it on Vitality. He had fantastic stats, fantastic numbers. 9-1, you see that record. Gold difference. Kills plus assists. 4.3 per game. Vitality were a bloody team. Kikis was there for every single kill, just about. And that's difficult when you get put behind as this Xin.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, he's still going to have plenty of opportunity. It's not like his map is ready to go for him. He's waiting for level 6 on the Akali and the Urgot before he has the kill pressure. So Kikis is just going to keep his head down a little bit more, not look for any of those early dueling opportunities against the Lee Sin at this point, and then just start scaling.
Going to the engage, rinse and repeat. Tahm Kench says nope and spits him right back. But sadly, a Draven with a red buff and a Vamp Scepter is basically unkillable without support from the jungler. Luckily, they happen to have a jungler right here.
I said he was going to keep his head down, but that's not down.
And you got to remember, this guy's coming from Vitality. If there was ever a double down team in the LEC, it would be 2018 Vitality. So Kikis trying to find that opportunity, hoping to punish an over-aggressive Draven. And right now, Sencux doing quite well in the mid lane. Febiven forced to get out here. Does have the TP to make it back to the lane. Sencux can match if he wants, but Febiven just doing what he can to get pressure. Right now, losing a bit in CS as Maxlore running right down the mid lane, not sure where he wants to go quite yet.
Of course, things are going to get a bit harder as soon as Sencux has access to his ultimate, a lot of lane safety, because you can use it offensively and defensively. I really love that about Akali, how she's just like zipping around, flying everywhere in the lane.
I'm starting to think that you might be sarcastic anytime you say you love anything about Akali.
Oh yeah, I'm all about glass half full.
Mix it up. They'll never know, Frosco. Do you like the champion? Do you not like the champion? It remains a mystery. But Misfits definitely like Infernal Drakes. So they're going to set their sights on that one. This one looks like it might just be a freebie. Very tough to contest the Draven right now. Axes are stacked. There's a level 4 Lee Sin there as well with the red buff. So kind of a freebie at this point in the early game.
Yeah, I think this is a great call because they did it on Febiven's back with his teleport. So he has the buy advantage. He immediately refreshed, has the mana, is back in lane. He says, man, I got complete control of the mid lane. This Akali hasn't backed. If they do want to fight us, we win anyway. Infernal's free.
Absolutely is. And for them, setting themselves up for a late game where they would be happy to deathball, giving themselves additional stats where so many members of their team are going to be looking to buy combat stats. The Lee Sin, the Lissandra, the Draven as well. So won't pay off immediately, but going to be a good long-term investment from the Misfits lineup.
Yeah, and what should have been kind of a winning bot side of the map, or at least a push priority for Rogue down there, has now completely gone the other way as Maxlore looking for round 3.
Goes down. Doesn't know it's warded.
It doesn't really matter, however,
Yeah,
just because of how strong they are.
And this is the beauty of turret plating. Froskurinn. Hansama gets money no matter what you do. He either kills you or he hits the turret.
They do need to respect a little bit that Sencux does have teleport, which is why I think we saw Febiven cheating towards the bot side just in case maybe something crazy happens that Rogue would pull the trigger and TP, but he's going back mid lane. As soon as they see that this cooldown has been burnt, it's going to get a lot more freedom to Misfits to play very aggressively down here. So the Lissandra ultimate's been unlocked. They're clearly playing around the bottom because they gave Hansama the early start, and this franchise player now has 4 members on the bottom side of his map.
Oh, so many members ready to make a play here if necessary. Maybe try to force a tower. The Akali, though, pushing up the mid lane, not too scared.
No. Run, Sencux.
Maxlore just going to focus on taking the Raptors. It's a trade back and forth, though. And Froskurinn, when we look at the Misfits lineup, we have to remember why people are considering this a super team. It's so strong across the board. Level 6 comes in for Maxlore.
Yeah,
he could look to make a play.
Yeah, he was doing Raptors to quickly get level 6, and if Sencux had stayed press forward in the lane, 100% Maxlore was coming over that wall.
But when you look at this lineup, Froskurinn, look, every single member of this team has been at least to a Worlds quarterfinal. And that's insane to think about when you look across the board. And Rogue, on the opposite side, they don't quite have that same level of experience. The good news is they're going toe-to-toe for now, but you have to be nervous when you look at a lineup with that much pedigree.
I mean, it's the experience, and I was very curious what type of iteration of Misfits we were going to get, if they would come out of the gate as strong as they have. So far, looks really good. Only 8 minutes in, though, so don't want to jump too yet.
But
he wants that so badly.
Desperately, they're all trying to force these engages. The good news for Misfits is, while the junglers are free to try to force some action, the bot lane is now winning completely independently. HeaQ with the level 6, though, will stop some of the aggression from Hansama. He has to be ready with that cleanse to get out of here. In the meantime, Vamp Scepter just so strong right now, and of course enough money to go back and buy a BF sword, continue to push in this lane, continue to dominate the bottom side of the map. And HeaQ, unfortunately, not really getting to play an interactive game of League of Legends right now. Just put on the back foot.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you said, put on the back foot, and with the Vamp Scepter, he can just sit in that lane. This may be an extended trade.
Prophet getting aggressive. The Ignite was used there. Sencux has to be careful. They're going to freeze him up, blocking him in, kicking him back. It does have the shroud, but it's not enough! Don't let him push his buttons, and he just can't do a thing in the mid lane.
And that's the 3rd time that Maxlore has been sitting around that middle lane looking for that type of gank. The nice thing about Lissandra being back in the meta is she works so well with champions like Kha'Zix and like Lee Sin because the burst damage is so high that in the duration of the Frozen Tomb, you can just delete someone from the map.
Good to have all that CC, kick her out. Of course, Sonic Wave makes it pretty easy to follow up.
I will say this, however. It was credit to Sencux that this is the third attempt before he goes down. He's been suspecting this for a while, but it was only going to be a matter of time before Misfits broke this open with that combo.
And as long as we're giving credit to Rogue, got to give some credit to Misfits. Well played, and Maxlore hiding on just that sliver of vision. Nice setup. Sencux baited into that false sense of security. Still, though, not doing too bad in lane. Down the assist, but Lissandra getting closer and closer to the proto belt. He is still quite far away from the gunblade that will make this lane significantly easier with the additional healing.
And at this point, pressure is just on Rogue that they need to break the map somewhere. The mid lane's now a lost cause. It's now going to spill over into the bot lane eventually. Hansama and Gorilla have just been completely pressed forward, just chipping away at HeaQ and Wadid. So Rogue need to make the call. Either they send everyone and their mother, throw the kitchen sink down into that bot lane and try to dig HeaQ and Wadid out, or they just need to sack the lane and swap their bot towards the top side and just try to trade structures.
And when you look at the Rogue lineup, it feels like the two people you have to trust in are Kikis and Wadid. And Wadid right now put on the back foot, not ideal, but Kikis is here. Maybe this is the time where they can make a difference, where they can try to catch up. These are two very experienced, very talented members of this lineup. Can they make the plays necessary to get them out of this early game deficit?
I mean, you can definitely flirt with the aggression that Hansama and Gorilla are doing and maybe try to set up a trap. The only thing here is this vision that Kikis is clearing out. Misfits have done a good job making sure that all of these control wards are always here. So they're creating a beautiful safety net for Hansama and Gorilla to play so aggressively. That's going to be the third control ward that Kikis is going to come across.
Hansama, though, being forced to cleanse out here.
I'll run.
Caught a little off guard. Sencux, they're just going to point click him down, but here comes the Tahm. Kench trying to split this play out. Maxlore incredibly low, and they're going to run him right down. Sencux striking back here against the Misfits jungler.
And there's the trap. So it's the Abyssal Voyage that comes through. Kikis hanging around, clearing out all of that vision, and Misfits just getting a little bit too antsy, a little bit too aggro.
And right on demand, we look at Kikis and Wadid. They are there to cover their mid laner as the gank comes in. And Maxlore spending a little bit too much time in the mid lane, starting to get predictable. Rogue ready on the response. Hansama with no cleanse, but Gorilla's not worried. He's going to start the fight. He's going to kick it off. Draven ultimate comes out. Hansama just throwing free autos in. Desperately, they try to save HeaQ, but Wadid is the man in the line of fire. Hansama cashing in. They might look for one more. Not going to risk tanking the tower. Kikis is on the way. Hansama with no mana, but the TP has now been committed. sOAZ can't, or rather, Lissandra cannot cancel that. It's going to be the full commit here on the bottom side, looking to break down this tower.
Excellent call there from Misfits to just double down on the teleport and to get the most out of this push. With the minion wave coming in, it looks like first tower will fall and they can rotate up into the waiting Infernal.
Second Infernal as well on the snowballing Draven. This is the nightmare scenario for Rogue. How are you going to get that 1-3-1 started if Draven can kill two members of your team at any given moment?
And I thought for a second that, you know, the pressure had been alleviated. Hold on. I believed in the flash smite. It wasn't there, though.
Kikis is a brave man, but I don't think he's not crazy. You know, he's not there yet. The desperation plays.
I've seen some of those plays.
We have, definitely. And when we look back at this one, you can just see the team coming together to make sure that this pick cannot happen in the same way twice.
But I really want people to actually pay attention to what Gorilla and Hansama are going to do. So while all of this action is happening here, I think it's ingenious that Hansama and Gorilla hide their backs here. So backs out of Fog of War and then steps in the brush. Try this in solo queue. This will always work. Everyone's like, they're back in base, I can push this free wave, especially with Rakan, you punish it every time.
You ever wondered how much a catfish is worth?
600 gold?
617.
Oh God.
It's so much money. And this is the thing about the Draven. When you get this pick rolling, it just feels impossible to stop. That's a Bloodthirster and another BF sword.
1230.
This is your solo queue nightmare. We have all been here. We have all played against this Draven and been miserable for the rest of the game.
You
and I
hit
gotta
tab.
feel for HeaQ.
You look at your Yasuo, he's like 1-7.
This is not ideal. Of course, not done yet though. Hansama definitely has to be stopped, but the rest of the map not doing too badly.
If Hansama hits anyone though, they explode.
But you said they wanted a 1-3-1. They just avoid. They put three in the lane with Hansama.
I said it was a dividing
They put three in the lane with Hansama, and you leave the rest of your team to run away. It's going to be difficult. Once again, not possible quite yet, but things are looking fantastic for this Misfits lineup, and it's not necessarily the aggressive bot lane style that we expected when we saw these two names.
No, I mean, it started from minute one when they decided to have the Ghost Leash for Maxlore. He was there when Kikis decided to try to gank Hansama and Gorilla, and then from there, it's been bad to worse.
Maxlore.
Hold on.
It's going to lead to the tap, but here comes Sencux. They're going to try to get the follow-up. Maxlore still running for his life. Second charge is going to be there, but Gorilla's not going to let Sencux get any closer. Hansama there as well. excellent disengage coming in from Misfits. So much CC had to go onto Sencux to stop him from using the second charge of his ult.
So beautifully orchestrated right there. And the only thing that Rogue might get out of this is maybe some positioning on the mid lane, but unfortunately, for what they trade in the mid lane by just shoving that in, Febi's now there to catch it. And meanwhile, sOAZ just got, I think, 2 free waves to himself, just kicking minions down there, buying his time.
And it's looking good right now. Misfits exactly where they want to be. Almost just extending the lane phase here. Now going to move top, match the 2v2.
And it's the fact that they have those isolated. As long as they continue to stick in this 2v2, Misfits are going to continue to exploit this map. So again, Rogue need to get very creative. Last time it was with the Abyssal Voyage that they set the trap, they had Kikis waiting, they brought in the Tahm Kench, and they managed to pick off the overeager Misfits. But as long as they continue to just match stylistically like this, it's only going to get from bad to worse.
Difficult spot to be. Prophet doing very well in his 1v1, but sadly it just doesn't mean a whole lot. He's been trading well with sOAZ, going back and forth, but it just isn't amounting to anything. So once again, we are looking at the playmakers on the side of Rogue. We're going to get that ultimate from Wadid, the engage potential from Kikis to get something started. sOAZ may be the one who's caught out here. Movement speed buff from the Startle Crab.
He does have flash.
Let's start to work him down here. It's a Sion though, so we're going to have to bide our time, just wait. And sOAZ is just going to walk away. They know if they commit too many resources there, they're going to lose something topside, but does not matter. They're going to lose something in a way. Rift Herald now summoned. Another tower is going to fall for Misfits. We are 15 minutes into the game, and already we have a 3K gold lead. It is going to grow more as the Herald collapses, and also double Infernal, 2 towers now broken. It's a difficult spot to be in.
And they're going to eat up the rest of that jungle as well. You can see that Misfits bang for the buck. Not only do they get the top lane tower, but they also clear out the blue buff. And in response, Kikis doesn't feel confident enough to try to trade blues. He might actually be walking into a trap. Are they going to wait in that brush?
Misfits.
Oh no. No, he knows.
Playing some mind games here. Throwing the Rift Herald down. Kikis thinks he reads play, thinks they're going to rotate to mid, but instead they opt to back off.
I mean, he's got the control ward, and he was very safe coming around the corner of the wolf camp, so Kikis knew what was up.
Which is good patience. You have to find an opportunity at some point, but obviously going too far, going in and giving up anything else isn't going to happen. And now, the biggest issue though is that we're going to have triple Infernal coming in for Misfits. If there was a game where you wanted early game dominance and drag control, I would definitely say it's this one. Triple Infernal. This one's going to spawn soon. 17 minutes when Misfits pick it up. 18 minutes. Exactly what you need.
And it's just so clean and crisp. But hold on, looks like they may be setting up something in the mid lane.
HeaQ, he's not going to like this one. They're not going to go in, though. They see the Tahm Kench there. They don't want to risk it. Maybe we're hoping to get the Devour out early, but Maxlore's off to the side as well. Now they're going to go in for the engage. He's going to have to use the Glacial Tomb on himself. Backing off, going to use the Proto Belt to make it to safety, and yeah, just stopping the aggression, and it's tracks with the Lissandra ult.
So the mentality here is because Infernal Drake is spawning in 10 seconds, you don't want to use key ultimates before what you know is going to be a fight. Now, even without the Lissandra ultimate available, that's still Hansama with a massive item advantage. So Rogue, while they're kind of between a rock and a hard place, we don't want to give away this triple Infernal. They're forced into a very scary fight that they must play perfectly.
Knockup going to connect. Once again, Hansama, the man you have to watch. If the Draven goes down, they stand a chance of winning this fight. The Dragon, though, in their eyes, is going to go in the favor of Maxlore. Now the engage comes in from Gorilla. He wants to keep this one going. Maxlore's on the backside for HeaQ. He's going to shut that 80 carry down with Wadid forced away from the rest of his team. And that means that Hansama just gets to tear through this Rogue lineup. Maxlore moving in for a bit more, but it is absolute dominance here from the Misfits.
It is just an absolute steamroll. They have priority and position on the mid lane. The creep wave comes in behind them. Triple Infernal, 2 item advantage on the Draven, and moving down for not 1, but 2 mid lane towers. Everything has cracked open for Misfits.
And once again, triple Infernal. You just have to say it again. Look at the items on this Draven. Look at all that flat AD, getting those multipliers. Hansama hits like a truck, burns through his entire mana pool across that fight, and it just looks so good.
And if G2 were going to be the boogeyman of the LEC, because they just have this raw, stacked talent in every single position, for me, Misfits were going to be the 3,000 IQ team. Between Gorilla, between sOAZ, between Maxlore, they have so many abilities to make incredible macro calls, and it has been so clean this entire game.
You can see how this replay plays out. Beautiful across the board. This replay brought to you by Alienware, and it's just so clean. The bot lane from Rogue forced away by just Maxlore on his own, and you leave that Draven on his lonesome, you force Sencux away, and the team just gets torn to pieces.
And a big part of that was the vision control. The fact that Misfits, again, they had their back timed. They were there right before the Dragon spawned. They had moved their control wards in. It just looks like a dance almost. No wasted effort, no wasted momentum. Everything's exactly where it needs to be.
Sadly, Rogue don't know the moves to the dance right now. That's what it's starting to feel like. I was optimistic earlier. I said, hey, there are opportunities, there are chances for them to come back, but when you are staring down a 6K gold lead and Triple Infernal and a Draven who has an 800 gold bounty. Man, bounties are crazy in this game right now. It feels nigh impossible at this point for them to come back. They are going to need a massive misstep from almost specifically Hans Sama if they want to find an edge back in.
But it means that they just need to play around their side lanes. Make use of the mobility that you have with the Abyssal Voyage. Use the Akali and try to see if you can find a pick. It's not the pick that you're looking for.
Sencux? He does not have the damage to fight sOAZ right now. That's not good. Sencux is, the tower is less frightening than sOAZ right now, which you can respect.
That moment when sOAZ turns away and says, "You're not worth the gold."
Absolute nightmare material right there. For Misfits, once again, they got everything they wanted in the draft phase. It would appear the dominant lanes, everything now paying off. Febiven, they're going to have to buy a little bit of time as Prophet tries to get something done. HeaQ, Wadid on the way. Is going to get locked up before he can use the Glacial Path. Now will be taken down. Not enough as the shutdown goes in on a Lissandra grill, looking for the re-engage. And Hans Sama remains untouched, but he's left on his lonesome. The lifesteal is there for a brief moment. Sencux needs to make it to safety. Gorilla going to drop on the backside. Burning down as Kikis finally manages to find a kill. An absolute bloodbath as Prophet runs for his life. One member of Rogue down to the 2 members of Misfits, and that is the best you could hope for.
Yeah, best case scenario for Rogue, and that's what we want to see. You want to see the Abyssal Voyage make use of the high mobility and start picking out members in those side lanes. That said, still a win for Misfits because they end up with the tower, and that's really just the gold lead speaking for itself. So while Febi was out of position, did ultimately go down, gave a shutdown bonus, but the rest of Misfits were there to pounce and make use of something.
Oh, and Froskurinn, you gotta praise him for finding this engage, for finding this opportunity, for chaining the CC so that Febiven could not use the path to get out. But at the end of the day, you can't lose when you're this far behind in trades.
And you can see why Febi thought that he was safe there. He does have a control ward off to his side, as well as one, I believe, placed around the blue and the wolf camp. So he did have the appropriate vision, just wasn't giving respect to the fact that he didn't have Tahm Kench on the map. The Abyssal Voyage came through. And like I said, he's probably looking at his team like, it's all right, guys. We got exactly what we came for anyway.
And the tier 2 tower dropping, I think we're looking at Baron for Misfits, potentially the key to end the game immediately, although honestly another single team fight win and they could just break the base open. It's the luxury of having this gold lead is it makes it a lot easier to close out. I think Rogue are honestly at this point hoping that Misfits, go for the Baron, make a sloppy setup, and give Rogue the opportunity to punish.
But the fact of the matter is that in the current minion, as well as, although I'll hold this point for a second, round 2,
both here.
His team's not close enough to save him this time, or kind of...
The path is here, and the flash is available for Febiven as well. This should be an easy escape. They're hoping to bait in a little bit more. They don't know the second member is on the top side of the map, but Misfits are taking control of mid lane and could, in theory, start to pressure this tower.
I think he senses it.
The pings are coming out. You feel like Febiven has... I think he thinks he can take this 1v1.
I mean, he's got a very deep ward down into the lane. I'm unclear if it actually spotted Kikis as he was walking up.
This is the long con.
It just expired, but he has so many wards to make sure that this stops happening, and Febi is actually eating up so much time from Rogue.
Oh, immediately going to go in for the knock-up. Is he... Oh, still manages to make it out. Minor fumble, but Sencux on the hunt. Wants to make his way in, just jump right back in. Shroud does go down. Ulti now coming out as Sencux needs to get out of safety. He doesn't have any escape rest left. Oh, God! That is the Draven damage you never want to see. One shot, one kill. Hans Sama makes it look easy.
He was shrapnel. He got hit once. Ooh. That was spicy meatball.
In case anyone who has ever watched European League of Legends forgot, Hans Sama is a monster on Draven.
I mean, Hans Sama's a good Draven player, but I'm just going to say, if he's 5-0-1 with a 3-item advantage right now, I think I could do that.
That's like saying all the montages where someone has 17 kills and then kills 3 people aren't cool, Froskurinn.
I'm just saying, he walked up and he honored him. It was cool.
It's powerful. And now with the Baron backing him up, Misfits very much in position to win the game. Options all but gone for Rogue. You see 1.3K stopping Misfits from being at a 10K gold lead. 23 minutes into the game, Triple Infernal and a Mountain as well.
I'm really feeling this Hans Sama escort here, holding hands with Rakan and Sion as he's just led through a stroll through the jungle.
They're playing Mr. President right now. Hans Sama is Mr. President. We got the Secret Service surrounding him. As long as the President lives, everybody's happy. Except for Rogue. Rogue will be dead if the President lives. It's a rough path.
Oh, now with the Baron, And with closer to 25 minutes, it's going to get that much easier for Misfits to end the game. I was going to say that with this type of lead in at 25 minutes with every cannon being spawned per wave, they probably wouldn't need Baron.
Oh, denying the engage on a Febiven. Here comes the Sion off to the side. sOAZ looking for a way in. Gonna get the one-man, two-man knock-up. Now Maxlore trying to make his way to safety. Gets the kickback, hits multiple members. Gorilla with the chain CC. It's clean, it's pretty, it's what you want to see. And Hansama here to clean him up. All too easy for the Fed Draven. Gorilla's even feeling a little bit more. Ooh, forcing out stopwatch, buys a bit of time, but the knockup not quite perfectly timed. Does not matter in the end. Misfits are not playing around in their first game. Cutting through Rogue. 13K, 14K gold lead to end their first game.
8-0-2 on Hansama's Draven. Just threw down the gauntlet in one of the fastest games that we've seen all day. That was games done quick.
Really speed running League of Legends. A few minutes off the best time, but damn, looking so good in that first game. And a lot of people were skeptical. They want to know how this Misfits super team was going to come together, and that was a super first game performance, without a doubt.
Frankly, you see Fnatic start to crumble in our first game of the day. Now we've got G2 and Origin, the match of the day, coming up next. If Misfits, boom, throw it down. Yeah, heavy favorites here, but did it with style. If Origin and G2 start to stumble, there's a very clear favorite here.
And they play SK tomorrow. And if they beat SK, the SK that beat Fnatic, Misfits, right back to the top of the pecking order.
Rock, paper, scissors, baby. It's exactly how it works.
It just looks too good. Maxlore feeling good, gets to play the Lee Sin, everything working out for them, but we know it was the clever start from Misfits that got this snowball rolling. Brilliant jungle pathing, planned out ahead of time, faking the leash, sOAZ giving up life so that he could act his way through that one, saying, oh, he definitely started red. He didn't, folks. He started blue. He went bottom. He killed people.
I had a lot of questions if what type of playstyle that we're going to see, if maybe Gorilla would tame Hansama a little bit, pull him back, but Hansama's like, no. You go Rakan, I'll go Draven. Let's go.
I thought for sure when the LCK support comes to the LEC that we would adopt the LCK playstyle. That's years past. It's 2019.
This is the superior playstyle.
Europe's the best now. You come to EU, you make the EU playstyle. You get aggressive.
A fourth place playstyle?
Absolute dream. On the opposite side, Rogue, definitely a rough start. Misfits obviously coming in swinging. Did show some good moments, some good team play there on some of those Wadid, Tahm, Kench plays, but overall, looks all right.
The shining parts of Rogue were still there. You know, you look at someone like Wadid, who just had that incredible Worlds run. You look at someone like Kikis, who had the incredible Vitality run, and they were still performing. Yes, Kikis got off into a bad start, but I do like the fact that Rogue were like, okay, get this guy an aggressive jungler. It fits in the meta. It fits with his play style. Just unfortunately got a little bit out-thought across the map, but maybe he gets a better start next time, and we see a very different game from Rogue.
Absolutely. We'll see what's going to happen as they move forward. But coming up next game, we've got our match of the day, Origin versus G2 Esports. So be sure to stick around. The first time you're going to see both of these teams, but I mean, we know you want it because we want it too. So let's take a second here to appreciate the beauty that is Hansama on his signature Draven.
I mean, I don't think you can pick anyone else for man of the match, Kia Sport. What do we got? What's it called?
Hansama going in here. I'm gonna hang out the drive.
Kia player of the game.
Kia player of the game. That's all it takes. And I honestly,
it's my first
we can run a player of the game vote, and we will, because public participation is important, but we all know who's winning, guys. We all know. We all know exactly what's gonna happen, because you see Hansama running down, you see how much damage he's doing, and I will admit, Gorilla set a lot of that up. Maxlore set a lot of that up. But at the end of the day, the man who throws the axes deserves the Kia player of the game, or at least that's my opinion. We'll see what you guys got to say, because we've got Hansama, Gorilla, and HeaQ competing for that player of the game, Kia player of the game.
I wouldn't mind the support getting some love there. Gorilla had some incredible Rakan engagements. I'm actually really surprised that Maxlore wasn't in the...
You don't understand how this works. If Hansama is on the poll, Hansama wins the poll. The only man Hansama loses to is Reckless, and he's not in this game. So head over to @AllEsports on Twitter and vote. And to get more insight on that win, let's hear from Laure and their mid laner.
Thank you very much, Drakos. Now, Febiven, welcome home. How does it feel to be back in EU?
I mean, it feels really great. Like, I really missed EU. Like, I realized playing in NA for 1 year, I think I maybe had, you know, a really bad year. And yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy that a team in EU wanted me back, and I'm glad I have. I'm really happy that, you know, Misfits got me in the team, because I mean, they're just a great org and they have really good players. So I'm really, really happy working with this team.
That's awesome to learn. Now, did you learn anything about your experience in NA while you were there? You can say no, that's okay.
I mean, yeah, of course, I learned some stuff. Like, I think the thing I focused on the most with my coaches was like vision control for mid lane and just in general. So yeah, I think I heavily improved on my vision game.
Awesome. And now everybody's saying that Misfits won the off-season, that you're building a super team. Many people are expecting so much from you. How does it make you feel?
I mean, it's always tough, you know, like people saying we have a super team. Like, we have really good players, you know, on paper, but it all comes down to how hard we practice as a team. Like, you can have 5 superstars, you know, but if you don't work together and you don't, you know, help each other, then you won't get anywhere. So it just depends. Like, I don't really mind how people rate us, you know. I just want to, you know, get back to the form that I used to play in, and also my team, to get towards playoffs and potentially, you know, going to Worlds.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And our last question. Many things changed since you left Europe. I mean, Perks even went to the bot lane. We knew so many new mid laners. What do you think about the mid lane powerhouse in Europe right now?
I mean, the mid laners in EU always has been really good. You know, it's like there's, you know, there was like Abbedagge and like Froskurinn and stuff like that, you know, and then you see new boys rising up, and now again there's another 3 boys rising up. You know, it's like all the young guys are catching up to the old guys, and it's really tough to keep up because they're all really good mechanically, and you know, they can be really smart too, you know, with the right team and the right coaching staff. So, I mean, I think for every role, the EU is just really like, you know, skilled.
And this will be a challenge for you maybe this year. Thank you very much for joining me today. And now we are going to take a short break. And when we come back, it's going to be match of the day, Origin versus G2 Esports. Don't go anywhere.
We are level 2. Go. Fighting. I'm back. No flash. Nice. Go. Don't heal. Don't heal. Oh, nice. Nice.
The Ignite was used there. Sencux has to be careful. They're going to freeze him up, block him in, kicking him back. It does have the trap, but it's not enough. The Draven goes down. They stand a chance of winning this fight. The Dragon, though, in their eyes, is going to go in the favor of Maxlore. Now the engage comes in from Gorilla. He wants to keep this one going. Maxlore's on the backside for HeaQ. He's going to shut that 80 carry down. Wadid forced away from the rest of his team. And that means that Sama just gets to tear through this rogue lineup. Maxlore moving in for a bit more. Maxlore trying to make his way to safety. Gets the kickback. Hits multiple members. Gorilla with the chain CC. It's clean. It's pretty. It's what you want to see. And Sama here to clean him up.